Hey gaming fans, so today's another Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck profile, and this is also for GOAT format, and this is Gen Maju Da Eiza, however you pronounce that. So basically, your goal is to banish as many cards as you can from your deck to make your Gen Maju as big as you can. So its attack is based on every card banished, your cards that are banished times 400, so it's attack and defense. I did this video before, this deck before, but it's a little bit different. I've changed things up just to make it a little bit better. So you start with 3 Gen Majus. Why not? I mean, this is your main card. You're going to want to have 3. Always a good card. I mean, even in the earlier stages, if anything, you could set it, but just hold on to it if you draw them. So to start banishing, we got 3 Banisher of Lights. So I mean, he's got a weak attack. He's 100 attack, so you probably never attack with him. But 2,000 defense is a pretty good body. A lot of standard monsters can't get over him. The problem is he goes in, if you set him, he's face down, so his effect is not going to happen. So we do some tricks so we can actually summon him face up, and then, you know, deal with that later on. To banish some more cards, I put in 3 Lady Assailant of the Flames. Again, this is a flip monster, so you got to set it. But when it flips over, you remove 3 cards from the top of your deck and do 800 damage to your opponent. So that's actually pretty decent. I mean, you get to do some burn damage, but you're also banishing 3 cards, which boosts up your Gen Maju. And the great thing is, even if you set it and your opponent Nobleman of Crossouts, you're still banishing 3 monsters, so you'll get rid of all 3 if they're still in your deck. Anyways. So we got 3 Bazoo, the Soul Eater. Again, another monster that banishes. So this is good to try and get monsters into the graveyard. And for each monster you banish, he gains 300 attack until the end of your opponent's turn, I believe. So really good card. You can get him up to 2,500 attack. So you can run over monarchs and stuff like that. Any kind of troublesome monsters or Chaos Sorcerer. And then I got 2 Gustav, Chaos Rider Gustav. My previous build had 3 of them, and I kind of focused a little bit more on a warrior build. But this one I toned down the whole warrior thing. So I only put 2 in here. He's still good. He banishes 2 spells, just like Bazoo. He banishes spells instead of monsters, and then he gains 300 attack for each spell. So he can get up to 2,000 attack, which is still good, still you know, reasonable. But the important thing is you are banishing stuff, so you want to just keep continuously banishing cards as fast as possible. Some new additions to this deck, Morphing Jar and Cyber Jar. I don't believe I had either one of these in my previous build. I could be wrong. But Morphing Jar is great to reset your hand because you might run out through a lot of resources. Plus we play some cards to help with the flip effect. And the Cyber Jar is good too. I mean, Cyber Jar can, you know, blow up the field, get rid of any nasty monsters, and set you up with some Banisher of Lights on the field or Gen Majus. So a really good card in this build. Then of course, DD Warrior Lady, help you get rid of any kind of troublesome monsters. Like I said, this used to be a warrior focused kind of deck, but I kept her in, so because she still does what you want her to do. She banishes herself, which is another card banished, and gets rid of any of your opponent's monsters that could be a problem, like you know, BLS or whatever. And then the final addition for monsters, 3 Thunder Dragons. Now the reason why I went with Thunder Dragons is to get more monsters into your graveyard for Bazoo, for one thing. So your Bazoo, the Soul Eater, has something to eat. So what you could do, I mean, it depends on how the game is going, but if you have 1 in hand, you can discard it, search for 1, and then discard that 1, and then search for the 3rd one. And then you got 2 monsters in your graveyard for Bazoo. Or you could just discard 1 and grab the 2 into your hand and use them as discard fodder. If you have your Snatch Steal, you can take your opponent's monsters and tribute it, whatever you want to do. So then we got our standards, Potted Greed and Graceful Charity, pretty much in every GOAT format deck. No reason not to run them. Especially if you have Banisher out. Graceful is great because you get to discard and send them to the banish pile. Another card to help out, which I can't remember if I had it in my original build, is Card Destruction. Now this can be a pretty good card. I mean, if you open up with, say you open up with Banisher of Light and Thunder Dragon, you can discard the Thunder Dragon, add the 2 other Thunder Dragons to your hand, summon the Banisher of Light, and then play Card Destruction, and banish your whole hand and draw a lot more cards. It can also throw your opponent off, say if they're playing Chaos or something, all the lights and darks are going to get banished. So, really good card. I threw in a Premature Burial just in case your Gen Maju gets discarded to the graveyard. You can pull it back later on. Or if you have to pull out a Banisher or anything else, monster that might be remaining in your graveyard, you got to be careful, because if you're banishing all the time, you might not have any monsters in there, but you can play around that. I threw in a Snatch Steal just because, you know, again, we're playing Thunder Dragons, so you could steal your opponent's monster and tribute it if you have to. Or just take their monster and attack with them, or steal their BLS or their Chaos monsters. 2 Book of Moons. I think I originally had 3 Book of Moons. My reasoning I had 3 was for Chaos Rider Gustav to have some more spells in the graveyard, but I felt that Book of Moon was just being a little bit clunky. But I kept it at 2 because there's many reasons why you might want to either reset a flip monster or your Cyber Jar, or not Cyber Jar, sorry, Morphing Jar. Say you Premature Burial Morphing Jar, then you can Book of Moon it, you know, that type of thing. And it's a good defense in case your opponent tries to attack or something. Another good trick is if you summon your Banisher of Light in attack mode, then you could set Book of Moon, your opponent goes to attack, you flip your Book of Moon, flip your Banisher back down into defense mode, and then your opponent runs into a 2000 defense body. And your Banisher is still face up on the field at that point. And then I put in 1 Soul Release. It was really tempting to want to play more Soul Release, because, you know, this card, other than just banishing cards, it doesn't do anything else. It can hinder your opponent too. If your opponent's playing Chaos, you could Soul Release their graveyard, get rid of their lights and darks. But primarily, you're going to want to use it on your own graveyard to just banish whatever's in there, just to build up your Gen Maju. This would something if you're building a side deck, you'd probably want to put 1 or 2 more. And then some more standard removal stuff. Typhoon and Heavy Storm. Pretty self-explanatory there. Now for the traps, 3 Desert Sunlights. This is the fun card that you can really mess around with. Basically, all monsters on your side of the field are changed to face-up defense position. So what that means is you can, if anything, you can summon your Banisher of Light. And again, just like the Book of Moon trick, the Desert Sunlight, if your opponent goes to attack or something, you could just activate Desert Sunlight, he'll go in defense mode. Or you can use it to quickly flip up your flip effect monsters like your Lady Assailants or your Morphing Jar and Cyber Jar. So if you say set Morphing Jar and then you set Desert Sunlight, and then your opponent tries to destroy your Morphing Jar or Nobleman of Crossout, you can activate Desert Sunlight to flip up the Morphing Jar to get its effect off. So there's lots of tricks that can be done with this card. Then I added a new addition, was Regeki Break, just basically removal of anything. Again, you're playing Thunder Dragons, so if you do have your Regeki Break, you might want to grab your 2 Thunder Dragons, and then you'll have fodder to discard to destroy whatever you need. You might want to just, destroy a monster just to get a clear path, to get a strong attack through, whatever. Mirror Force, of course. Everybody likes to wipe out your opponent's monsters, why not? To return from a different dimension. This can come in handy. I mean, this can be your finisher card. Once you banish a bunch of monsters, you can attack with your Gen Maju, and then return, and whatever comes back, even if it's Thunder Dragons, that's still 1600 attack. And you just go for a game. I don't know if 3 would be good. 3 might be a little bit clunky because you're not relying on this. And then, of course, I threw in 1 Call of the Haunted. Same reason for Premature Burial. You might need to pull up a monster that was just thrown into your graveyard. Cards like, even if you grab your, like, any of these cards, and if, like I said, if you have Book of Moon, you can just flip it face down. The one thing to note, too, is, and I looked it up because I was pretty sure, but with Thunder Dragon, even if your Banisher of Light is on the field, according to the rulings anyways that I saw online, you could still discard your Thunder Dragon, which would mean it would just go banished, and you would still get the 2 to your hand. Or you could discard 1, banish it, grab the next one, banish it, and then the 3rd one ends up in your hand. You cannot activate it, though, if you do not have another target. So you have to be careful that final one will end up in your hand. But anyways, yeah, this was my Gen Maju deck. I thought this was kind of a fun way to build the deck. A little bit faster than my previous build. Has a little more tricks to it. Pretty much fun. Anyways, let me know what you think of the deck. Throw some comments down below. Hope you subscribe. Talk to you later.